Hey guys, what's up? My name's Lachlan Pirie. I'm proud to present my first author-on-author interview with a young American writer named Chaselyn Roderick. It was a lot of fun, had a lot of cool things to talk about. I only made a few minor stuff-ups. For about the first 16 minutes, I act as the interviewer, and then we swap roles so Chaselyn interviews me. We talk about things like what it means to be a writer, how the process works, and the books that we aim to or already have brought out into the world. I hope you guys enjoy and learn some things about writing and the people who want to do this stuff full time. All right. G'day everyone, my name's Lachlan Pirie. Today I'm joined by Chaselyn Roderick, a young American author from Beeville, Texas. Her first novel, Activated, was released when she was only 16 years old, and her second novel, 99% Down, was released a few months later. She's currently in her second last year of high school and is in the process of publishing her third book this year. Whilst writing and studying, she is working at an Italian restaurant and has interests in cheerleading, dancing, welding, and of course, writing. So Chaselyn,
Yes.
thanks heaps for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'd love for you to share with our listeners what path led you to where you are today. What inspired you to be a writer?
For one thing, my teachers, for sure. Like mainly my younger teachers in my fourth grade on, they were just really big on having journals every day and little things like that. And I've always loved writing, and they were the ones who kind of got me to like, you should keep doing this. And here I am.
So when did you first decide that you'd like to become an author? Was there like a particular catalyst or something that gave you the idea?
I mean, yes, kind of. So I had a children's book. It's kind of embarrassing, but I had a children's book that like never got published or out there. But I had it in a hard copy from Shutterfly, some company, and just seeing it was like, whoa, this is my book. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's published, but it's mine, and I was 9 years old. So I just saw it and I was like, I really, really want to do this forever.
Yeah.
That was kind of my moment.
Yeah. So you definitely have a few things that you're trying to juggle with work and school and writing. Can you share with us a little bit about what a routine would be for you?
Well, for one thing, school takes up 99% of all of my days.
Yeah. Great.
It's really long and really annoying, but I mean, anytime that I can, I'll pull out my laptop during class and work on my books. And then most days I'll have work, so until like 11 at night. So I won't always have time every day, but weekends, breaks, anything, any day that I don't have anything to do, straight to my computer and I stay there. My family gets mad at me because of how much I write all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, come socialize. No.
So are you a planner, or do you just sit down and let it rip?
Both. I struggle with it continuously. In the beginning, I like to outline it just to have a basic idea where my plot's going. Yeah. And then once I get going, sometimes I'll just go woo right off the track and then just go from there.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends. I let the characters have their, they have their personalities, and sometimes I'll have something outlined, and then when I get to that part, I'm like, this isn't really what that character would do in this situation. So then it veers off the course, and then I re-outline. There's a lot of rewriting involved in my process.
Yeah.
It's a difficult process. It really is.
So take me back to the moment. You've put in all this work, you've done all this editing, you decided to do independent publishing for your second book, and you've done the whole publishing journey as well. What was it like to hold that first physical copy of your book?
I cried. I cried. I held Activated for the first time because it came first. And I like got it in the mail and I was like, and I broke down. I cried. I mean, I was like, that's my name at the bottom. that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
me.
yeah,
And then even then it still didn't hit me until my brother walked in, grabbed my book and was like, "Oh my God, that's you."
yeah, yeah. It's pretty
It
amazing.
was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking for writing to be like a full-time gig for you?
It's definitely what I would like, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I would I would love it to be full time. That'd be incredible.
yeah, yeah.
But at the moment, I'm planning on finishing high school, college, all that.
Mm,
Ooh, excuse me. Once I have enough of a following, once I get enough of a profit to hold myself over,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah,
But
great.
I
It's
can also
always a
see
maybe,
myself.
hey? Yeah. So, what writers do you look to for inspiration?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Um, just because there's a lot, but mainly anybody who's in dystopian.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I look a lot at Michael Grant, Mike Mullen, and then obviously the big ones. I like
Mm,
Harry Potter, so J.K.
yeah,
Rowling,
yeah,
Rick
yeah,
Riordan, all those. But
yeah,
there's one that I found recently. Her name is Jenna Moresi, and
mm,
she's like I look up to her a lot. I get a lot of inspiration from her.
yeah,
Um, and she authored the Savior series, which I love. It's
yeah.
one of my all-time favorite books. So
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah,
have I
awesome.
have a lot. I couldn't pick just one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you find that you changed as a person while you were writing your book? Was there any
I,
kind of new things that you discovered about yourself in the process?
I found out that I'm evil. I'm, I'm evil. I like to put my characters into very unfortunate situations. Yeah.
Yeah, so you like to
But
test your characters in your stories, really.
yes, I found out I'm also a sucker for romance and all that. So
Yeah,
even though I've, rarely been in a relationship that's lasted, uh, it set my standards for love like all the way up there. I can't,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
could never, but I found out I'm evil. That was my big discovery.
Oh, that's sort of a different perspective on your writing. So did
Yes.
you I know from, like, experience that writers go through a period of, self-doubt. Being so young, have you ever felt that your work is not good enough to be released? I know myself being
Every,
22 often feel that my lack of experience will, like, compared to someone, say, in their mid-50s, will show my stories. How do you overcome that fear of, self-doubt?
I guess for me, because yeah, I have that pretty much every day, all the time. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
like, what if people don't want it,
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but it's not so much that I have overcome it so much as my drive to constantly keep trying to overcome it is what's keeping me going. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well, if I don't think people will like it, I just need to make it better. Not like a bad way, like I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. Cause sometimes I am a little bit of a perfectionist and that's a big
yeah,
struggle of mine.
yeah,
But so much as would I want to read this book? Like if you don't want to read your own writing, no one else is going to want to read it. So that's kind of my thing, just to keep myself getting over that doubt. Like, I do want to read this book. And if I want to read it, somebody else has to. Like, I can't
yeah,
be the only one.
yeah,
So that's kind of just what keeps me thinking, like, I have no reason to doubt myself,
yeah.
you know?
So, you've recently decided to do self-publishing rather than traditional publishing. Have you decided that it's better to do it your own way? From my little experience, it seems like if you make enough noise, you'll get the attention of those big publishers. Is that what you're trying to achieve?
Not really.
Mm.
I don't really want to get the big publisher's attention for one thing, just because of how much freedom you lose
Yeah.
when they have a
Yeah.
book. But on the other hand, they'll get your name out there. Like it's their job to get your name out there. So I think it would be nice, like it'd be absolutely incredible if I caught someone's attention, but it's not
Mm.
my goal, if
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Totally.
It's kind of a juxtaposition of what I just said, but in my mind it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
But I
So how
have
have you been
decided that
finding, like stepping out and letting the world know, hey, I'm an author, look at what I'm doing?
TikTok and Facebook have been my biggest look at me
Yeah.
apps
Yeah.
that I've been using lately. Um, we set up a Goodreads account, um, and a lot of other things, just anything we can use to get our name out there. I think I started an Instagram, but I'm not very active on, excuse me, on that.
Yeah.
Um, we're trying to be, later on once I get a bigger name, I'll probably have more things where people can contact me, find
Yeah.
out about my books,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. So what would you say would be your top tip for anyone looking to become an author, especially young people our age?
Keep writing.
Yeah.
Don't stop. If it's
Yeah.
what you want to do it. Like if you got a story to tell it,
Yeah.
because it won't get out there otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Just keep writing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an escape for me. It's an escape from the drab that is reality.
Yeah.
I can go into a world of people with powers or people with magic.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So if you want to lose yourself in a story, keep writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So tell me a little bit about Activated and 99% Down. Do they relate in any way in themes or characters? Do certain people
Mm-mm.
reappear?
No, they're
No.
totally separate, absolute different series. Nothing to do with each other. I can't tell you how often I get that question. They're like, "Are these
Yeah.
two related?" I think I had that question like 5 or 6 times at the book signing
Yeah.
that we had today. It was just like, "Oh, are they related?" No, no. You'd be able to tell from the covers, I think. One is an apocalyptic city, the other is a DNA helix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, they're not related.
So tell me a little bit about the characters that you created in your first book, Activated. Did you model them off like everyday people that you come across with the various character traits and personalities, or were they inspired by people in your own life, or was it all sort of very fictionalized?
It's kind of embarrassing because, yeah, they were all based on my friends. Like
Oh,
every character in
yeah.
Activated, when I first started it, they were based on my friends because I was 11. I didn't know people. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
how to make
Yeah.
new people. And then I got to the point that my friends were like, well, they got a character. I want a character. So like I would make a new character. And
Yeah.
only a few of them ended up sticking into the final book, um, like into the final draft, but they're not really based on their personalities anymore.
Mm.
There's one who shares the same name, and that's Chloe, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but they just kind of they started off as these people who are based on my friends, and now they have careened so far from my friends' personalities that you would never be able to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happens, right? You sort of base it upon reality, and then they sort of turn into a character of their own. Really, hey, it's tell me.
It's
So,
like,
I just wanted to ask, tell me a little bit about some of the amazing feedback that you've been getting from your books.
um, well, for sure, one of the best reviews I've gotten just the other day. He was like kind of a big author, and he gave me a 5-star review, and he told me that like one of my favorite characters was one of his favorite characters. Sorry, I can't talk. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I love this character. She's so dark, like, and she's the villain, so she's supposed to be. But like, it's just whenever you can tell, like, they're not just like, oh yeah, cool, you wrote a book. No, when you can tell that they read it and they absorbed it and enjoyed it, that's those are the best reviews, when they tell me who was their favorite character, what their favorite part was, and what made them cry or laugh or smile, like, it gives me chills. It gives me literal chills thinking about it.
Yeah. So I'd love for you to share with people how they can contact with you and get a hands-on copy of your books.
You can contact me at Chaselyn Roderick, www.chaselynroderick.com. That's my website, where you can contact me, and both the links for my books are on there. Both are available in paperback and ebook, but only 99% down is available on audiobook. And we have three wonderful narrators, two wonderful narrators, and me. We have me, oh goodness, sorry, low battery. We have me, Colin Brown, and Claire Glover, and they are absolutely incredible. I love hearing them. Like, I listen to the book just to listen to them, because I love the way they read it and get the story.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, Chaselyn. You're an awesome writer.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think you're really gonna be a top writer coming into the future.
Thank you.
All righty. So I am here with Lachlan, Pirie, and we are going to be doing an author interview. Just gonna ask some quick questions. We're gonna have some fun with it. Are you ready?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. So starting off simple, how old are you and when did you start writing?
So I'm 22 years old. I started writing when I was before my teens. I've always loved writing. I sort of dropped off from writing per se in high school, and I've only recently come back to it because I found an interest in writing screenplays for movies. And since I started getting interested in screenplays, I've sort of come back to writing books, and that sort of really inspired me to continue on doing writing and build my craft, really.
So your book is based on one of your screenplays?
Yes, so it started out as a screenplay. Then I turned it into a stage play, which I was going to put on in 2020, but then, COVID hit.
Yeah.
I couldn't really, that dream went out the window. So I started to turn the play into a book. And that's sort of where I'm at. I've finished off writing the book, and now I'm at the stage where I'd like to publish it and get it out into the world.
Oh, wow. That's really, really cool. Just going from, I never hear it going from movie to book. It's always the other way around. That's really crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, before I found out about screenplays, I didn't really know where to go with my writing. I didn't have a clear beginning, middle, end. But when I started looking at screenplays, you sort of have to create the perfect movie in your head, and then write the beginning, middle, and end very clearly to get a good screenplay. And when I had a good screenplay, I found that writing the book was easy because you know where you're going with the story. And yeah, that's sort of where it's going, because I now have a clear idea of how to do things. Write lots of words around a scene is not so hard per se.
Yeah. So you're definitely an outliner when it comes to writing your book.
Yeah, well,
if you're a screen.
before I just did whatever, because I found, writing outlines a sort of boring process. You want to just get into the story. But yeah, when I've got an idea of the outline, I find that I'm a lot more better at my writing.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's really, really neat. That's really cool. So as far as like inspiration, was it any particular screenplay, movie, directors, authors, anything that's like inspired you to want to write more?
Um, yeah, so I find inspiration from writers who I'm sort of trying to imitate at the moment. Like when I was writing a screenplay, my role models were screenwriters. I really liked the movie Collateral. Um, and so the guy who wrote that screenplay, he was sort of my inspiration at the time when I was writing my screenplay. But now I'm
Right.
writing my book, my inspiration's sort of an Australian author named Jane Harper, um, another Australian author named Tim Winton. I find him an excellent writer. And yeah, I have a mix of writers that I try to imitate, but I mix it with my own writing style. I find like Tim Winton, for example, he has sort of prose in his writing, whereas Jane Harper is sort of more about
More.
the scenes and setting the scenes. So I sort of mix the two. So I have prose with
Yeah, some of your
scenes that,
philosophy as well as
yeah, yeah,
straightforward.
yeah,
Okay. Wow. That's really that I keep saying that's really cool. I'm not good with verbal expression, you know what I mean? But like
yeah.
that's really awesome. I don't think I've ever heard of some of those screenwriters actually. They're probably really big screenwriters or directors, and I'm just ignorant. But
Yeah. Well, a lot of
that's really
people
cool.
like don't know about screenwriters because you don't think about who writes the movies. Like I didn't
Right,
know what screenplay means. You know, when I was growing up, I just ignored the whole writing process altogether. And so
right.
I think
You're
when you
like,
sort of start investigating the movie industry, that you realize that screenwriters are so important for movies
right,
because without the screenplay, the director has nothing to go off. You know,
yeah,
they kind of are like the foundation for a movie. You need a good screenplay to make
right.
a movie. So, yeah, I have a lot of respect now for screenwriters, whereas before I just ignored them totally.
Yeah, I think most people do. You're more focused on the actors and the story itself, but you never think about,
Yeah,
where it comes from, because it always comes from somewhere.
yeah.
Um, so you might have already kind of answered this with your screenwriter thing, but what about a favorite author? Do you have a favorite author in particular, like one of the greats?
Um, well, I sort of go by country. I think the best Australian writer is Tim Winton because he's really good at mixing real life with fiction. Um,
Right.
the best American writer, I'd say fiction wise, is Stephen King, but in terms
Yeah.
of like,
Mhm.
realist stuff, there's so many American writers, like, um,
Yeah.
what's his name? Ernest Hemingway. Like, there's heaps of guys like that their writing's just like up here and mine's like down here, but
Oh, have some confidence.
yeah.
I'm sure it's wonderful. So, what's your book about? Like, I know it hasn't quite been released yet, and so what's it about, and how's the release process going for you thus far?
It's going pretty well. So I'm building up. I'm sort of starting from ground zero at the moment.
Right.
And my blurb for my story is basically there's two prisoners, and they're put in a jail cell at the beginning of the story, and you're given a backstory as it goes along. But because of how much they dislike their ex-wives, they decide that when they're released from prison, they're gonna swap murders. So one man will kill the other man's ex-wife, and it becomes um, this sort of satire about love and why people act the way they do. And it's a mix of, like I said before, it's a mix of reality and crime, and goes beyond the sort of typical like James Patterson crime thriller in a way, in that it analyzes why people act the way they do and the psychology behind crime.
The more like including your prose and your philosophy in there, like why people do the things they do.
Yeah, I kind of relate it to Crime and Punishment in a way. Like Dostoevsky talks a lot about like what's going through the guy's mind before he kills this old woman, and you sort of you read his work and you sort of think, oh, there's a bit of reason to this, you know, why he's doing this. Like it's a horrible thing to do, but
Right.
there's it goes a bit beyond like the normal society's viewpoint on, you know, why people
Right.
act the way they do. It goes a bit deeper, if you
It
know.
doesn't necessarily excuse it, but it explains it. It
Yeah,
explains another perspective.
in a way.
Well, I've never really been all into crime and thriller. I like watching those kind of TV shows, you know, Forensic Files and Bones and all that. Like those are really
Yeah.
some of my favorite shows. But as far as reading, I've never delved into that genre before. That sounds really interesting. So is that your favorite genre to read and write, or does it change?
It changes a lot, hey. Like I'm only sort of doing crime and thriller at the moment. Well, before I was, well, now I'm sort of into the horror genre, but I was only
Yeah.
sort of interested in crime and thriller because that was what my book was about at that time. My next book is a horror book. So, well, it's a mix of crime and horror. And then
Right.
my book after that would probably be like a dystopian sort of book. So it'll be completely
Dystopian.
different. I don't want to be sort of pigeonholed to one genre, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I don't want to be like Stephen King, where you just think of like horror books each time you think of his name. I want to
Right.
a broad, um, you know, I can do all types of writing type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely understand that. My first book is like a sci-fi contemporary, and the other one is a total opposite. So it just kind of,
Yeah,
you don't want to be confined to one genre.
yeah.
I definitely get your point. So your crime slash horror instead of crime slash thriller, is that by chance the sequel to this book that you've got?
It's completely different. So my first book is based in Australia. My second book is based in New York in America. Completely different characters and stuff. But what I do like to incorporate into my books is the philosophy, like the philosophy mixed
Mhm.
with like social issues. So like in my second book, it mixes in sort of racism and sort of occults in America. So, you know, it goes on those sort of themes. Whereas my first book, it goes on about sort of like crime and love and those kinds of things mixed in it. So I tried to go a bit deeper in my stories than just, you know, the actual story per se.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. A cult. I've that's scary. Cults are genuinely scary because they're real.
Mm,
It's terrifying.
yeah.
Um, so as far as I hope you don't have any like murderer cult leader friends, but are any of your characters in your books based on real people in your life? I hope not, but are they?
No, definitely not. So all my characters are very fictionalized, but
Right.
um, like I said, I try to make them as real as possible. So, like the people I know in real life, they're too boring to make into um, characters, if you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
want to make um, a character that's worth remembering, and if you
I
want
think
to do that, you got to really make him or her, you know, different to your everyday person, or else,
right.
you know, you, those books about everyday people are good, but I find that I like my characters to be, a mixture of evil and
Mhm.
good. They're sort of the real sort of shady characters, or they're really, um, really sort of different kind of characters.
Well, I am definitely a fan of morally gray and like not good, not bad. Nobody has their set reason, like nobody's like completely good or completely bad, goes back to your philosophy thing. I think that's really good. It's a good thing to incorporate into your characters.
Yeah.
Um, so do you struggle like incorporating all that, or do you struggle with anything in particular? Like I know I struggle with confidence a lot in my writing.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of other writers say, like the first draft of your book will look just actually like really horrible.
Yeah.
And when you sort of compare your first draft to other books that have been released, it's just like, oh, I'm never going to get there.
Right.
But after spending like a year after finishing off my first draft on this book, I feel like it's at the standard, if not better, than some of the books that you walk into the bookstore and pick up. Um, yeah, it's just a matter of rewriting constantly, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that rewriting process builds confidence. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think now that I know the process, um, I'm not so worried about where I'm going with writing, and I have a clear idea of what the book is going to look like at a certain stage. Like when it's a screenplay, there's going to be no descriptions of buildings or landscapes or characters per se, but when it goes
Right.
to first draft, you're going to have that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to look like your everyday book out in the bookstore. It's going to look pretty horrible. But then when you get
Yeah.
to the end, however long that takes you when you've done your editing, it's going to look solid. And yeah, I'm proud of getting to that stage, and yeah, I'm really keen to continue on doing it because it builds me as a person, and it yeah, it's a learning process, continual learning process.
So you are wanting to make writing a full-time career. Like, is that your goal? Or you said screenplay earlier. Is that your bigger picture rather than books?
Well, I'd love to be a full-time writer. Every writer I think wants to be one. Uh,
Right.
I'm really interested in movies because that's where that's where the attention is per se. And I think like I'm really interested in movies because they cut to the chase and you get the story within 120 minutes, whereas a book it takes you a while.
Right. Yeah.
I like mixing the two. I wouldn't give up screenwriting to do books, and I wouldn't give up books to just do screenwriting. I think mixing the two is sort of like balancing the best of both worlds.
Right.
And in the future, you know, however long that is down the track, I'd like to be doing screenwriting full time with some company in LA or wherever, and writing on the side. That's the dream.
Well, that's a pretty good dream. Most writers, I am sorry about that. most writers don't get as far as you have with with actually getting your book to the stage and getting over that period of doubt, uh and like finding out where you want to go in the writing world,
Yeah.
so I think it's awesome that you've got that all like figured out,
Yeah.
because
Thank you.
most don't get that far. So this one's going to seem a little off topic and kind of weird, but it makes sense, I promise. What book is on your bedside table and why? Like, I got a dystopian right now.
So at the moment, because I'm writing this horror book, I got The Shining next to my bed. And I'm writing a book about a haunted apartment complex in the Bronx. And that sort of fits with a haunted building in, I don't know
Right.
where it's set, The Shining, but yeah, haunted hotel fits with what I'm writing at the moment. So yeah, I'm reading that book at the moment, and it's quite the book, The Shining, because it's sort of it mixes. It's the same sort of thing I've been talking about. It mixes like psychology with like the actual story, like why he's going around wanting to murder his family and stuff. Um, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Can't watch.
that sort of works with what I'm writing at the moment.
Huh. So you go based on, like, you would read the book based on what you write. So if you're writing a Western, you'd probably read a Western.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. That makes sense. I kind of do the same thing, but with music and based on the scene that I'm writing. Do you ever do that with music?
Um, yeah, sometimes like my settings sort of in that sort of I don't know if you know what I mean, but like brownstone streets, where you sort of they look sort of real 1920s.
Right.
I'm sort of listening to like 1920s music because it fits with like the architecture and
It
um
just kind of gets you in the mood for it.
yeah, and just to get in the mood and like that sort of dark dilapidated buildings in the Bronx and like
Yeah.
stuff. It just sort of fits with that music.
Well, um, I definitely cannot watch The Shining. It's terrifying, but
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely get the whole pairing what you're currently doing and then with what you want to read and write. It is setting you in the good mindset for it. So, oh goodness, my questions got out of order. I'm sorry. So when you're not writing, are you reading, or do you have other hobbies, school, work, any of that?
yeah. So um, my university takes up 98% of my time at the
I'm
moment.
sure.
Um, Mornings and nights is when I sort of dedicate to my writing. So like past 7:30 at night, I'm writing, or before 8:30
Right.
in the morning, I'll try and write. If I'm working, I'm too stuffed after the day to do writing. So
Yeah.
it kind of works doing full-time uni because, you can study and then do writing afterwards without feeling exhausted.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just sort of where I'm at the moment.
Hmm. So, sorry. So I had a question. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind right now. So last couple questions. Is there any like, do you have any websites, any ways people can contact you, get a hold of your book once it comes out? Do you have a tentative release date? Anything like that?
So my release date is October this year in 2021. The
Oh,
best
pretty.
place to find out about my book and everything about my writing stuff is my website. Because it's just been launched, my website, the best place to probably find it is if you just go to my Facebook profile or my Instagram profile, and there'll be a link there to my website, and just click on that, and yeah, it'll take you to everything about me and what I'm doing at the moment.
All right. So it sounds like you got everything pretty set out and, ready to go, ready to write and just have fun with it.
Yeah,
You know,
hopefully. It's a bit of take it as it comes at the moment. I'm building towards where I want to go, but it's just small step by small step, and
yeah,
I'm really enjoying it because I'm finally at the stage where I can get my book out into the world and actually get some, real people reading the book.
are you ready for that? Like, are you just ready to have people like watch someone like have it in their hands and read it? Like, just the
Um,
idea that
yeah, it's not really like a movie, but um, yeah, I want to actually hear what people think of it because it sort of challenges people as well as entertains people. And what gives them sort of something different to think about. And what I would really like to hear back from people is how they've sort of been changed, not changed, but how their thoughts on something have sort of
maybe like
refreshed,
just shifted a little.
yeah, shifted a bit. And I think that those types of reviews would probably be my most sort of rewarding reviews.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that one. Having a deeper interview than just, oh, love the book,
Yeah, yeah,
it's,
totally.
you can tell people read it and absorbed it
Yeah,
instead of just enjoyed it. So yeah, I definitely get that. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with
thanks for
me.
having me.
Um, so real quick, do you have a name for your website, Facebook, that people can search up if they're wanting to find your
Um,
stuff?
so when you're searching on Facebook, just look up Lachlan Pirie author. On Instagram, if you just type in Lachlan Pirie crime author, I should come up. And my website is www.lachlanpirie.com. So yeah, pretty simple.
All right. Well, that is awesome. Thank you again. I really enjoyed this, and I definitely hope to do this again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Chaselyn. Awesome.
Absolutely. I
Bye.
definitely enjoyed it.